Just wait for it to go live on the YouTubes, and then we're all good to go.
The YouTube.
There we are. There we go. Right, we're live. Welcome back, everybody, to the Blues Focus podcast. I know we said that the last podcast was going to be the last one of the season, but yeah, look, here we are again. But anyway, I'm glad to be joined again tonight. Jamie Lawler, Sam Sheppy. Good evening, boys. How are we today?
Well, this season, I thought all the chaos was over, but as you said, Tommy, we're back mid-May, and unfortunately, it's bad news.
I know, yeah, it's very disappointing. But as a professional side to the day, I suppose, Sam, you've had a pretty decent boost for your career going ahead. You've obviously been on TalkSport with Simon Jordan and Jim White on their morning show this morning. Tell us a bit about the everything behind the scenes, I guess.
Yeah, it's a crazy experience going on TalkSport because I'm sure, like you guys, I've interacted with those guys for like years, like watching the videos and listening on the radio and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty surreal to speak to them, and it was a bit of a quick turnaround as to how I got on TalkSport. So I literally got the call 9:30 to say what was happening, saw the news on my phone literally 10 minutes before then, and then from that gap from when I got contacted about to go on there, 20 minutes later, I was speaking live on TalkSport. So it's just pretty crazy. And as I said in my tweet afterwards, obviously the situation that it come by is fantastic, but the fact I got to speak on there was excellent, and yeah, a real step in my journalism career. So thankful for that.
Definitely, yeah. Was you a bit nervous for it?
Yeah, I suppose so, but it's a topic that I know a lot about, and I think with the Mowbray news, we knew kind of it was coming because of how long it's been since he's been in the dugout, and the fact we hadn't heard anything, and that to me said it was bad news. And yeah, all the best to Tony Mowbray, because I'm sure we're going to get onto it and his time at Birmingham, but ultimately health does come first, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely spot on there. Just quickly shout out Edgy again, mate, for the £9.99 donation. As usual, mate. As always, guys, hope you all well. Keep right on. Sorry to see that Tony go, but health is well, 100%, mate. We'll be talking about that pretty much all podcast. We'll be trying to integrate a little bit of like everything with the team and everything. We haven't made any transfers yet, apart from the ones that have just gone out. Hello to a few people in the chat. Susan, Callum says angry Jamie tonight, so we might be getting a bit of that.
I'm calm. I'm actually quite chill. Like, I'm all right. I've been in the gym. I've burnt off all my aggression today.
Yeah. Sleepwalker, evening gents. Pretty nailed on. This one was going to happen. Let's hope the owners have prepared for this eventuality. Yeah, let's get straight into it then. We haven't got much of a plan in terms of like the way we go about talking about it tonight, but there again, it's Blues Focus podcast. What else do you expect? So we'll just start from the start, pretty much, of the actual morning itself. So how did we all approach the news as soon as it got released?
You first, Jamie, because I know about your story.
I was at work, so I did a 7 a.m. till 3 today, and obviously I work in healthcare, and done a meds round at 8 o'clock in the morning with the residents, sat down, cup of coffee, about to go out for a cigarette, phone pings, I look up, I see a picture of Mowbray, and I'm half like, oh, is he back? Oh, he's gone. And just whole day ruined. I was like gutted. Obviously, health comes first, and life is precious, and whatever's going on, we hope he makes a full recovery and he's going to be okay. But it just kind of leaves, as a Birmingham fan, in the mire of going, who is going to take us now? What happens next? Like, we thought our podcasting, we had a little bit of a podcast sabbatical coming up for a few weeks of relaxing and not having to worry about Birmingham City. But no, 21st of May, you might as well get back to it, I suppose. We're here. And we're seeing what's going on.
When was the podcast we did? Let's see if I can find it really quickly. Like, what was the actual date of that? Because it feels like literally yesterday when we did it. It was 10 days ago. We were doing the last podcast of the season, and then here we are now doing this. So yeah, it's football though, so we should have expected, and it's Blues as well. We should have expected something like this to happen. But I think you're right though, Jamie, to see like he. Like thought I'll picture Mowbray, it might be him staying, but with like the lack of communication that's been going around lately, and really with all the sort of rumors that have been flying around and everything, you're more leaning to the fact that he probably wasn't going to return. And Sam, you were saying on before the call that we're talking about, like the Rowett appointment was almost like we're setting up for an eventuality that he might not return.
Yeah, I think obviously how Mark Venus did was an indication that we needed someone that was a more experienced manager to come into at the end of the season. But when that Venus decision was made, and we get an entirely new coaching staff, I guess, with Gary Rowett, Paul Robinson, Dave Carolan coming in, and you knew from that point that they were looking to the future. And we didn't hear anything official, did we? Like from the announcement in February that Mowbray had to leave Birmingham because he was ill, and we hadn't heard anything in that time frame. So I think the longer it went on, the more we thought that something bad might be happening. And I'm sure we'll get onto it about Mowbray's time at Birmingham and some of the games we had under him. But I do think that we were heading in the right direction. And I think Mowbray long-term would have been a great manager for us because of the style of football that he played, the fact that he seemed to get the fan base, a very likable man. And it's going to be interesting to see who we get in next, because a lot of the names that are floating around don't really interest me, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a lot of very different names in there. So there's obviously people like David Wagner, who have got obviously championship experience. He made the playoffs with Norwich earlier in the season. Sorry, I can't concentrate. Can you hear my dogs barking in the background there?
You just keep going.
Right?
It's fine.
Yeah, that's. It's been a while since they've been barking in this. Yeah, I'm gonna have to shout at them in a minute, otherwise they're not gonna stop barking. I've got the odds here for the current Blues managers. Saying that Gary Rowett is obviously the lead runner for it at the moment, with Liam Rossini close behind. But I imagine this website was taken up before that news broke, really, that he didn't want to take the job on at this time. I mean, like, there's a few interesting names in there, like Frank Lampard, who would be like a similar Rooney appointment, I reckon. No. Big name, a couple of, like, he's worked with Derby in the Championship before. He's gotten them to the playoffs and everything. Same with David Wagner. Paul Heckingbottom, of course, obviously old Sheffield United manager too. Chris Hughton's on that list. I mean, like 10 years ago, I'd have absolutely loved that again because he was fantastic with us. But it just feels like a really far-fetched idea to go for now. It's like Lee Carsley and Bruce as well. It's just like those moments have gone really with those type of managers. So we'll definitely be reading out some of the people's suggestions to managers and having a little bit of a discussion about it. One suggestion I'm just seeing a couple of them coming in actually is Scott Parker, which is quite an interesting one. Obviously has been promoted with Fulham to the Premier League before. Did a pretty decent job, I think. Obviously, there's going to be loads of stuff that divides opinion and everything, but at this current stage, with not really knowing anything that's been reported or rumoured, who would you individually take? Jamie, we'll go with you. Who would you want to be a replacement first off? Rowett.
I'd take Rowett back. Like, I know a lot of people are going to say, yeah, but we didn't do. But in theory, like, what do we get? 11 or 12 points under him in 8 games. The damage was done before the man walked in the building. He had took a squad that like battered the confidence, came in, and let's be fair about it. The QPR away where we lost 2-1 in his first game, that centre half is never scoring that again to the day he goes, man. I'm not having that. Like, you played 3 teams that were chasing top 6. You beat them at home without conceding a goal. You can't, like, you know, to get 11 or 12 points in 8 games, that's like mid-table pushing top-ish 10-ish form. Like, that's. He did all right. He pulled together. He made us more resilient, more difficult to beat. Yes, Rotherham. Yes, Huddersfield away wasn't great, but I think that was more the squad just battling it more than, you know. Gary did try. He made the subs. He went for it. And I know people are going to say he went defensive, but he can only do what he can only do with the squad he's given. No transfer window, and here you go. Here's a squad devoid of confidence in the bottom 3. Go had it. Like, what more could he have in theory done? He tried to do his best. He knows the club, and I think it just. I don't blame Gary Rowett for the relegation. I don't blame Mowbray for the relegation either. I don't blame. What I do blame is that egotistical Mr. Rooney. But we're not going to get into that because I will be here for an hour. That's what. That's what
people
I blame.
People are up for a Jamie rant tonight. That's for sure.
I'm not getting into this. But so for me, yeah, personally, Gary Rowett. But you know, Liam Rossini, I wouldn't say no to it, but he's already come out and said no, hasn't he? But
yeah, it's going to be tricky, isn't it? I don't know what you think, Sam. Who you'd prefer for a replacement?
Yeah, I think for me, like, Rowett is the only option that I've heard that I'd agree with. But a lot of Birmingham fans say this thing about they don't want the Rowett style of football in League One. And while I do understand that viewpoint, I think the most important thing for us is just getting out of League One next season, isn't it? Back into the Championship. And for me, I'm not overly fussed about the football that we play to get out of League One. We just need someone that knows the players, knows the Football League well, can recruit well and advise with the transfer team to get the right sort of players in. And I think Rowett does suit that criteria. Obviously, the question does remain whether Rowett does want to drop down to League One. Obviously, we know that he likes the club. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come back in the capacity that he did. But with a lot of names that I'm seeing being floated around, the main question that I ask is, would they drop down to League One to manage? Because end of the day, we are a big club. Obviously, we know that. But being a third division side, like team that's not in the Championship, not in the Premier League, I don't know whether managers would take that risk coming down to us, because if they don't set the form off straight away, then it could rubbish their CV going forward, couldn't it? With some of these managers that have managed in the Premier League and then the Championship as well. But if they do a bad job in League One, then other clubs might look at them afterwards and sort of say no, because the fact they couldn't get results in League One. So it's a risky job for whoever takes it. But I think Rowett is the safest pair of hands.
Yeah, definitely off recent form, I would say. Like, we've had a decent-ish end to the season, even though we did fall into a trap. But that's what relegations are like, really. Like, we didn't lose our last 3 games of the season. Granted, we should have won those, but like, it's not the worst choice out of what we could take. I mean, like, there's always going to be risks and everything. I think though that the fact that a lot of people are saying in the chat here is that we don't want to. I don't think big name managers will take a chance on us, which is kind of what you're saying as well, Sam. I mean, it does remind me a little bit of when Villa got relegated back in 2016, and they appointed Di Matteo to try and get him in charge and try and steady the ship and everything. And it was very like that in the fact that he came in and he just wasn't up to Villa's standards, really. So
no.
I mean, there's a few people saying some big names, in like some of them are a little bit unrealistic, but I think one of them that's of interest, I think, with like, if you're looking at it from an opposite way of a manager coming into a team that's coming down, Dave Chandler, I think that's how you pronounce it, Chalner,
Chandler, yeah.
Is obviously the Stockport manager, did a fantastic job with them last season. Is obviously somebody that we should be looking at, in my opinion. I think that if we're going to have to rebuild the team, if we're doing it with the players, we should be doing it with the managers as well, because like those big name managers or bigger name managers like David Wagner, yeah, it's David, isn't it?
Yeah,
I thought it wasn't David then, because I've read.
Yeah, you're right.
David Wagner, of course. I personally wouldn't like him anyway, but I think that it would be wise of us to go and suit somebody who's on a good run of form with like somebody like Stockport, and come in and manage the Blues as well. Like, as great as Stockport did last season, we're a bigger club and we can offer more for a future in that as well, and we can bring up a good and up and coming coach as well. So I think that'll be an interesting one to take. Rossini obviously hasn't chose to go into talks at this time. Darren Ferguson, who's obviously Alex Ferguson's son as well. Interesting one, but hasn't really done too much in coaching, I don't think. And then there's a couple of other managers like Ian Everett, who is he the Rotherham? No, he wasn't. Bolton.
Yeah,
I got them mixed up then. I don't know. He might be worthwhile. He did make the playoffs with Bolton this season. Only just lost to Oxford in the playoff final the other day. I mean, if that's the style of football they're going to be playing with the Blues next season, then I really don't hope that we put him in charge, because that Bolton were absolutely appalling in that final. But whether that was just Oxford being really good, I don't know. We'll have to work that one out. Obviously, Ferguson has been promoted from League One before. I can't remember when that was. It feels fairly recent. It feels like the last sort of 5-6 years or something like that. Danny Roll as well from Sheffield Wednesday is an interesting type of candidate. I don't think he would drop down the league to come and join us, but
No.
I mean, like, do we go, because this is the tricky one now, do we go for like a coach like we kind of did with Clotet, or do we go for another manager in like Mowbray, because we've still got to build a team for the next season, and obviously we've kept a couple from the team this season out of the release list. Is a coach going to be the right choice? Is a manager going to be the right choice? Because we have got a bit of a blank page to restart on, but also at the same time we've got to get that right for the players that we're going to bring in. Do they need like a good leader in somebody like a manager like that, or does it need to be like sort of one of them almost and be like a coach sort of thing? Is it even a little bit embarrassing actually to go back to somebody maybe like John Eustace? Because fair enough, right? You sack him originally, that one doesn't work. Then you get Mowbray in there, you get Rowett in. At this point, surely, like after all of them, he's more likely to than out of any of those names on the list. Like Rossini's obviously turned us down. Lampard wouldn't be a good fit. Neither would Gerrard or any of those old England players. Really, I think if anything, he's in that list again, really. But there again, if he's staying with Blackburn, we don't know. But I'm trying to just throw names out there because it's a very open conversation at the moment, really, with like who really is in the frame, really, for all of this. Because at the moment, like I'm probably in the same boat as everybody else. I don't know where the direction is this season. I really don't. Obviously, we're trying to get promoted, but like, what style of football are we going for? What type of manager do we need? It's do we need like a team of staff almost, kind of like how they were doing with Rooney? I'm so lost with it all.
I think it's interesting, actually, like what you say, Tommy, about maybe going for a foreign manager in the ilk of Danny Roll, because we've seen it this season with QPR and Sheffield Wednesday, where they brought in managers from overseas that people didn't really know about, and then all of a sudden they've done really well in the Championship. So it may be that we seek over Europe for something, you know, a manager that's doing well in a league that's not perhaps that popular, and then picking them out and going, well, here's your money, here's what we think we can do with the team, and here's a style of football that we want to play. So it may be, I think, if we go down the more expansive route of trying to play more attacking football, then it could be an international coach that comes in. But if we go for just that basic setup, you know, just grit it out, try and get out of League One by, I guess, not blowing teams away, but just being solid at the back, which we haven't been this season, then I think we'd be more inclined to go for a coach from England. So I think the style of football does impact the type of coach that we bring in. And I think international for more expansive, and then English-based for someone that's more, I guess, defensively resolute and focusing on defence.
What do you think then, Jamie? Because we were speaking about this on the podcast last week. We were talking about how like we've got to try and get everything in like harmony almost, to try and make sure that all the players are feeling right with the style of football, the fans are feeling the right style of football with the team and everything. Everything's got to fit in. So like, do we go foreign? Do we go English? Do we go lesser known? Do we go well known? You know, what's the vibe you're thinking of at the moment?
Bring in someone you're comfortable with, which is why I'm going to advocate for Gary Rowett again. I think the next person you bring in has to be the manager. It can't be a coach. It has to be the manager of the football club. You need someone that's not just going to take you into this season. You need someone who's going to look at the future. This is, like we've just said, this is the squad. The squad is about to be exiled, left, right, and centre. The squad is about to get gutted out, and it's a fresh start. You need, you know, yes, the goal is, of course, you want to get out of League One, and we need to get out of League One in theory pretty quickly. I think this is the year you've got to do it. I think if you stay in League One for more than a year, the whatever squad players you got left from the team that's gone down, they're going. So you want to bring someone in, which is why I think Rowett, he knows the team, he knows the club. He's just had 8 games for the club. If you're going to bring someone in, though, you need to do it very bloody quickly, because I want someone to have a full pre-season this time. The whole reason the Rooney kerfuffle happened is because you brought him in mid-international break to 6 horrific games back-to-back, and it started the whole confidence falling apart anyway.
Yeah.
Anyone would have crumbled at that. But, yeah, and I wouldn't be against the Eustace call, like you said, Tommy. You know, the dreaded "you up" text. Like, can you please come back? Like,
well, because that's exactly the thing. Like, time's of the essence here, and fair enough. Like, we feel like we've got a long time away, but the season starts in early August, and we're in late May now. So we've pretty much got like 2 months to sort all of this. You know, build a whole new team, build a team that's going to be of expectations of trying to at least be promoted automatically. You know, because we're a team like Birmingham City. You know, we haven't been in League One since 1994, really. So it's like there's a lot riding on this season, and it's gotten off to a really shaky start so far. You know, obviously being relegated is the first one, but then the players that we let go as well, which we'll talk about because that came out since the last podcast as well. It would be interesting to bring up the list from last podcast. Actually, I think we had a lot more keep on there than there actually has been. But yeah, that's another thing to consider as well, because like you've got a whole new team to build in less than just over 2 months, pretty much, and League One, it's going to be really difficult at times. You know, there's some teams in there who are going to be working much harder to beat teams like us, Rotherham and Huddersfield as well, because they'll just think that we're just up for it, just thinking, oh, we're going to blitz this league, you know, cruise it. But they will really want to beat us. I'm absolutely certain of that. I'd love to speak to a few fans of teams that are in League One, because I get the feeling that they would really want to beat us. It's kind of like Sunderland when they first got relegated into League One a couple of years ago. Like, surely there's a vibe around that they want, like, to prove them wrong and make them look fools.
Of course, League One is not an easy league as well. Like, the amount of Birmingham fans I've seen going, we're going to trounce this league, we're going to smash this league, and I'm like, no. Like, I mean, taking away the actual league games you've now got FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Johnson Paint Trophy. You're gonna have, if you go on a run in the paint trophy, you're talking at least 60 games next year, lads. We need not only a good manager, we need a fucking big squad as well, because our players are gonna die. Which is why I advocated the other week saying keep Gary Gardner, because we need experienced people at the helm. We need people who know what they're doing in the dressing room, and we got rid of him. And I hope there's a plan, you know. But I worry because League One is not an easy league. It's consistent. It's exhausting. It's going to be literal Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday, Wednesdays. Like, it's going to be week in, week out games, and no international breaks as well. Remember, lads, none of that's happening. So,
well, that is true. That will be at least a little bit of a. Actually, no, it's not, is it? I thought it was a good thing. It's not. It does mean that the football will just carry on, won't it?
It's good for the fans.
That's great.
It's good for the fans, but maybe
well,
not
it
players.
depends what type of good things is going on, really. Because if we're finishing 10th, then no, it's not. I'd rather have an international break, and that's the only time I'll ever say that as well. I hate the international break, honestly.
What I'm trying to say is that I believe we should go back up, and I think we're a big enough club to do it. I just pray that we don't underestimate that a lot of these teams are experienced. They know how this league works, and it's going to be a physical league. You know, it's going to be difficult. You know, I don't want to be walking. Yeah, in theory, I'd love to be going to every game watching us win 5-0, but there's going to be games. We're going to have runs of form. We're going to have difficulties, and there's going to be times where the injuries catch us up. You know, it's going to be a difficult year to watch, but hopefully a good one. And you know, I'm confident for this year, but I'm also nervous and, you know,
cautious. I think is the word.
Cautious.
You don't want to be
definitely.
overly
cautiously optimistic. Maybe.
Yeah. Because I think the thing is, as Blues fans, like we expect to go back up. I think that's the thing. But all of us are just at the back of our mind. There's that constant doubt, just saying like you Blues.
Because we're just so used to losing. I think that's where it comes from. The fact that like we've had so many seasons where we've lost more games than we've won, and then all of a sudden, we're going to go down to a league and we're going to win every game and finish top of the league. I think the cynic in me says,
head that just goes, oh, maybe we won't. There's something in there. Yeah. I think that in terms of the retain list, we only offered 3 contracts in the end. One has already been accepted by Keshe Anderson, whose year I think it has been extended. And Duke and Ruddy have also been offered new contracts. But out of the other ones, Marcel Oakley and Neil Etheridge, I don't think, and Scott Hogan, I don't think were the ones that anybody was expecting anything else out of. I think their time at the club is done. But I still think that Gardner, Roberts and Sunjic were the debatable ones because, I mean, obviously Roberts had already pretty much admitted that he was going to be leaving the club at the earlier point. But I still think that there was a chance there for those 3 players to at least have filled the squad up a little bit. And I think Sunjic is probably the one out of all of them now that I'm thinking about it, because yes, we've still got some really good quality midfielders in there, like Alfie Chang's going to be returning from injury next season. George Hall should be at least a little bit more fit, hopefully, because those injuries are difficult to come back from. Jordan James most likely will get sold. I really hope we get good money for him if we are to sell him, because I don't want to get 4 million for him and then just like that's another one of our great youngsters just going for nothing again. Brandon Keller, who I'm not entirely sure will be playing much of first team action, but if he can put in some good performances, then hopefully. Janina Bakuna, Bielik, Dembele, Miyoshi, Paik, you know, those are players who obviously are definitely one standard without no doubt. They're of championship standards, so I don't know how the hell they've managed to wind themselves into this. So there's options there for us to pick on still, but like out of the whole of this season, we haven't been a seasoned team, and the manager and the squad, it needs to really get a move on, because like I said earlier, like still just over 2 months away until the start of the season. It's going to catch up quickly, that is. And, you know, Austria is not even that far away as well for the pre-season games as well. So, and teams will beat us to the punch as well. Like, Jamie, you're a big fan of Johnson Clark-Harris. Rather him have snapped him up. And I can guarantee you, as much of a good footballer I don't think he is, he'll be perfect for them next season, because he'll just bag them goals. And that's exactly what you need in that league.
I am so
sensitive topic for Jamie.
So triggered when you sent me the picture of Clark Harris in a Robin shirt. I was like, please.
He suits Steve Evans down to a T, though, doesn't he? Like with the style of football, I imagine
he's
they'll
that
get
type of player.
Suits him down
we
to a T.
needed a ginormous shithouse up front who can score goals, Stansfield was good last season and he ran his heart off, but you need someone to run Stansfield to run off. I was saying it all of pre-season, all of last season. Johnson Clark-Harris is a goal scorer. I know it's in League One, but your man bagged 27 or something the season before last in League One. The guy knows where the net is. And I was saying it for ages, get him, sign him. Rotherham, day 2 of the window opening. Bang,
Exactly.
got him.
Yeah.
Got him.
No,
Done.
I think Rotherham, because they were relegated right
Oh, they
before,
prepped.
they had the opportunity
Yeah.
to prepare, didn't they? And they could be a team next season. Obviously, it's just wildly, because everybody's predictions before the start of the season are always wildly out. But like from already at the start, you can already see that they're in mode of trying to get people signed up and everything. And they've got a manager in. Steve Evans obviously was there before, but they've made sure that he will be the manager next season. So like there's stuff there that they're already preparing for. We, on the other hand, you know, we went down on the last day. We feel like we don't know who we're going to be signing. We could be signing Luke Ayling, who, if we stay in the Championship, that could be a possibility. And then League One, we've got no preparation for that at all, really. So it just doesn't feel like a good prep job at the moment.
I believe the board had a list. I'm sure the board had a list of relegation and staying up of who we can get. I'm sure they do. My fear is, taking away Christian Bielik, who can play there, we have one centre-back at the club right now. One in Dion, I think. I could be wrong. We have one goalkeeper in John Ruddy, I believe, as well. Like, I know there's probably under 18s and youth keepers, and I know people are going to point that out to me, but I'm on about seniors. The squad right now is thin. We need to start acting quickly, because it's going to, like you said, 2-3 weeks down the line, if we're going to Austria and we've got one fit goalkeeper and one fit centre half, imagine if Dion turns wrong in the first friendly game and he snaps his knee or something. You're done. You've got no centre back then for the season. What are you going to do?
And you can't even put Gary Gardner at centre back then. That's how fucking screwed you are. Then you can't even put Gary Gardner at centre back. At least you had the option if he was there.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, and I believe the board. I trust this board, and I know everyone's going to point out they made one big mistake this year, but everything else they've done has been good. So I firmly believe that the club will pull it together and pull in some great signings. I really do, and I know they're going to.
Because I think with a lot of these free agents that have like gone to different clubs as well, I think Rotherham have made 3 transfers already. Peterborough got one today. Huddersfield, they've got their managerial situation sorted. So I think we're behind a lot of these teams that are going to be competing up the top with us. And I think with the preparations, we just need to get it sorted ASAP, don't we? Because a lot of these free agents will get snapped up that I think would do a job for us. And with the long run, you've got to just get that recruitment sorted with the type of manager that you're going to get in as well, for the type of player they're going to want in the team. And I suppose the question is for me, like I want to ask you guys, is that who made decisions with the contracts with, you know, Jukovic, Ruddy and Anderson being offered new deals and the rest of them not? Because if it was Mowbray and then he's gone 2 days later.
Yeah, you were making this point on TalkSport earlier, weren't you?
Yeah, because Simon Jordan said after I went that my opinion was silly in the fact that I thought it wasn't Mowbray that made the choice. So I don't know.
He's a wind-up merchant. I know exactly what. That's why I was a little bit worried for you, because I was sat there, I was watching. I was thinking like, good on Sam, like he's like really worked him in. I was really proud for you, but then I was like, oh god, actually, hang on a minute, it's Simon Jordan and Jim White. And the first question I think they asked you was like fairly detailed and everything, and you did a really good response to it. And then they said like something about Gary Cook, and like completely changed the angle of the question. It was like, oh god, they're going to try and really go
because they probably wanted me to say like, oh, Gary Cook's rubbish, so they get their headline or whatever. But all in all, like I just don't know if you made the decisions about the contracts, because you know how much power like directors of football have now, and the people that I guess work with the manager. So you just don't know. And it's all going to impact the style of play, isn't it? What personnel that we do have. And when the retain list came out, I actually wasn't too like disheartened by it. I think a lot of the decisions made were correct. And I think by getting rid of a lot of these players, it will give some of the youth a chance. And shout out to the under 21s and under 18s as well for reaching their national finals, because that's a fantastic achievement. And good luck to both of them in that. I watched the highlights of both games and the interview afterwards, the under 21s game with Brad Mayo and Junior Dixon. And they spoke really well. And those are 2 players that we could see more of next season, especially in these cup fixtures where it's the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. And I think we can field, you know, under 21s in those games to get a real good look at them and give them those chances. So I think going forward, looking forward to the youth is going to be fantastic, because they've done so well to reach their playoff finals, and hopefully they can win both of them.
Yeah, we've seen it for years, like with Birmingham City, like pre-Jude as well. We bring through good youth players. We consistently have brought through good youth players. We need to start playing them. I mean, Ramel Donovan was basically ended up in the shadow realm after January. I don't know what happened to that guy, bless him. Like, he plays really
He's
well.
under
He just
18s
gets
of England.
sent.
too.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
he just gone. Like, he came on against Stoke that game when we lost 3-1. He was the reason we scored that goal against Stoke. I was like, this kid deserves more of a chance. Gone. Vanished. Junior Dixon's banging in goals for fun in the under-21. What's he got to do? Mate, all right, yeah, maybe people are saying, oh, there might be an attitude problem. Well, you know what? Right now, we needed a goal scorer because Jay Stansfield had ran himself into the ground at that point. The poor kid had run for 90 minutes every game and he was dying, man, on his feet.
I mean,
Like,
I don't know how much attitude has to play with things at the best of times. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of like the team behind the scenes and everything. But surely, like, there's been some worse people in the dressing room really in recent years. Like, surely Junior Dixon might be a bit of a cocky player at times, but he's got a point to prove at the moment. So if he comes into the team and gets us goals,
If you can
he can
score
be as
goals,
much
by
of a
me.
Balotelli as we want.
exactly.
Just get us goals, mate.
I don't care if you're a knob on the pitch. Score me goal, fine. You do you, man. Like, go on. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Like, what I'm saying is we just need to, we've got a really good academy set up. And I think if there's ever a time we're going to be focusing into it, it is now in League One, where you can build these over the next year and make them into whatever are good footballers into very, very good footballers.
Yeah.
But we also need to start getting some senior players in ASAP, and I'm not going to let that
Because
slip.
I think bringing in a manager that has worked before with younger players in like under 21 setups maybe might be a good approach, because I think this season we are going to have to lean on the youth team, because was what Jamie said, the amount of games that we have to play and the resources that we have available, because we've let a lot of people go, which will give opportunities to youngsters. So maybe someone that's worked in under 21 setup before, or sort of worked their way up from youth level, something like that, and a manager that, as you said, Tommy, like Eustace, where he hasn't really been the main man before, and then give him that chance to work with these players, because that hunger and desire will be there as a manager. It's not one of these managers that's been at other clubs and then it's like Birmingham's kind of a pit stop for them. It's that Birmingham, you want to be their main project and the thing that's going to get them noticed and the thing that's going to propel them as a name as well. So some of that hunger and desire, because I don't know if you guys have seen some of these talks about what's happening with Ashley Cole, because poor Ashley Cole, he's worked under so many different coaches, isn't he, at Birmingham? So many different coaches in his season with us. And there was a mention or two about him maybe being promoted to the main manager. I don't really have an opinion on it myself, but what do you guys think about it?
I don't know. What do you think, Jamie? I'll think for a minute.
I don't think you can go from a set piece coach to the main manager. I think that's a bit of a move, if I'm honest. The other thing is, I don't know. I think maybe you need to be an assistant before you become a manager. I think you throwing someone into the absolute dog end there. Like, don't get me wrong. The only time I can see it working was Portsmouth did it with Mousinho, who walked in from literally playing, was it for Oxford 2 weeks before, and now he's a manager and he's just gotten promoted. But it's very rare, that kind of thing. I don't think you can go from a set piece coach to a proper manager in one move, although I am more than happy to be proven wrong and more than happy to be shut up by my own football club, because that happens so many times. It's fine.
Because he was assistant manager at the under-21s for England. I think he still does that. And also he may be able to bring in some staff that he's worked with before, maybe some staff at Chelsea. I don't know, but I'm just trying to come off of anything really, because I just don't have anything at the moment. So just that's an idea that I have.
I mean, I would say no, because obviously the risk is too bad and everything. You don't want to do more of a road like that again. And I also think that I don't really know what impact he's done yet, to be quite honest. I mean, he's obviously been with a lot of managers since Rooney came in, but still at the same time, I don't really know how much he's had to do with everything. But I don't know. I definitely wouldn't be first choice, but if we are literally scraping the bottom of the barrel, and I think if we're in like the same situation when Eustace was brought in, like Bowie was sacked like a game before the start of the season, and then we have to put Eustace in charge. If it's one of those, then we'll kind of just have to take it, really, because at the moment we're very badly prepped. That's the thing. And I'm just looking at the future and everything, and looking at how much we've got time to go until even Austria. I mean, how many weeks is that away? So it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks away in terms of how long it is until the preseason. So it's soon, and it's catching up as well. So we've got to be really aware of what's coming up. You know, we need a manager, we need pretty much a whole new spine of the team. We need a goal scorer that's going to keep us in contention. We're going straight back up as well, you know, and at the moment we don't even have a proper striker, do we? We've not got Stansfield. We've kind of not got Djukovic, although it's very likely
Duke run
he
up
will
front
be.
by himself.
Please, Duke.
How
stop.
much
taped
longer
up.
do we? I mean, the
Please.
thing is with Djukovic, like as much as I love the guy and how much he's kept us in the championship for however many times it has been, it's unbelievable, really. He can't keep doing that forever, and he's coming towards the end of his career now. He's 35. He's worked his heart out for the Blues and everything, but you know, like other teams, like you know, Johnson, Clark, Harris for Rotherham, and you know, other teams that are coming up, Wrexham as well. We haven't even spoke about them yet. We don't know what the plans they've got for next season. We don't know what plans that Huddersfield have got as well. You know, they might invest smartly. They haven't really got that bad of a team, really. I think they've done the similar situation and just walked into it. Bad prep and everything again, and there's just teams out there that. And maybe it's because I'm not too knowledgeable on League One at the moment, but right now I'm nervous because I can't see enough going on, and there's no. I think the communication's the worst bit, is because they were incredibly communicative. That's not a word. They gave us plenty of communication at the start of the season, like loads of stuff. Like the whole ground was being done up. You know, we had loads of signings coming. It was moving so quickly, and now we've been relegated, and it's the end of the season, the start of the next season. It feels eerily quiet, you know, and that's why when Mowbray was announced this morning that he wasn't going to be continuing, it was like, okay, that's at least something now. But then also, there's still no talks about any manager coming in after that. You know, it's still very quiet. You know, with other manager appointments, they've literally been announced on the same day almost. Like with Eustace, I think it was 2 days, if it was anything that. I mean, Rowett was actually almost on the same day, wasn't it? Like he got sacked and then Zola came in.
Yeah, it was literally. I mean, this is going to sound like a really, really stupid thing I'm about to say, so bear with what I'm about to say here. 7 weeks is a long but a short time in football, because at the same time, although 7 weeks seems like it's very quick and it's going to come like that, like you said, announcements happen. Rotherham have already signed 3 people. Like, there is every chance that we could be sat here this time next week with a new manager and 4 new signings already. Like, it is such a quick turnaround in football that I'm sure the board had a backup plan for this. I'm sure they must have. I'm sure that they got the announcement this morning. First they did was let us all know what was going on, surely. They were waiting for the confirmation on Mowbray. You know, the man was in the front line for the job. Unfortunately, and it's sad, man, like health has made him have to take the step back, because he is a fantastic manager and he would have taken.
And a good bloke as well.
Good bloke as well. Understood the club. Proper nice bloke, like, as well. And you just, you know, but health does come first, and health is wealth, like someone said earlier, like 100%.
Yeah.
But now, you know, I think there will. I reckon by Friday we'll have an announcement. Surely someone's going to be announced by the end of this week, and then we can start looking at building into players, because 5, 6 weeks is enough time to get used to your squad, I suppose. I know a lot of them are away at the minute, but then they'll come back, and then you just got to we start again, we move again. Squad's getting gutted out, and then we just move from there. That's all we can do at the minute. All we can do is hope, which is what we've had to do for the last couple of years. But now we've really got to hope, because we've actually been relegated in the doghouse now. It's actually happened this time. So we've got to hope and move.
I remember, like, sort of when we spoke to Stephen Nice earlier in the year, talking about Mowbray, and he seems to say, like, you know, he gets it more than Rooney does, and that was always the thing, wasn't it? It was the fact that he was funny, he was witty, you know, he got the club, he felt more of a fit than Rooney did, and it felt at the time, and I might have said this on a video, I can't exactly remember, but I definitely remember feeling, okay, we're going to have a more comfortable end towards the season now, and it was good, you know, and I think that Mowbray, out of the 4 wins that he got, I think, in a short time, I think it was how many games? I know it was
8, wasn't it?
I know it was 10 points in the league, because I wrote the little ticker along the bottom earlier in the day, so it was a win in the FA Cup as well against Hull.
Because we got 4 wins, didn't we? I think from the game. So it was Hull, Stoke, Blackburn, Sunderland.
Yeah. And then we're back to back as well. Remember, then Blackburn and Sunderland was back to back.
I think the only like real bad performance from that time is Sheffield Wednesday away. That's the performance
that
I
was
can think of. And Tony Mowbray, that I thought was just really poor. But
he was
the rest
getting
of it, you can
things.
see what he's trying to do.
Yeah, and Wednesday were on a fucking roll towards the end of the season as well. Like they were just, when teams are in good form as well. Like we know this from, you know, being in those positions ourselves as well. Like I mean, like the Villa did it when they got promoted in 2019. They just like they were 12th at Christmas and then finished 5th and won the playoffs. So we can't do that. We do the fucking opposite. Still bitter about that. So yeah, it was just that was a bit of an angry Jamie rant that was there.
Why is this now a me? Why am I a me?
It's just guy in the comments is saying it,
used.
Angry Jay announcement coming Friday. That's got to be the new segment, Angry Jay. Angry Jays, Angry Blue Jays. Isn't a bird a blue jay? We can have it Angry Birds. Angry Blue Jay. Oh, no, too much of a stretch.
I've just seen on my phone, by the way, about some managerial information. Pochettino's left Chelsea.
Oh, there's too many of those spam comments in the comments saying it all.
Has Poch gone?
Yeah, he's just
that's mad.
A bit weird, bad. Jesus, Chelsea. It's even more.
I think in terms of like shock announcements, that's not too. But like if we're comparing like Eustace with Rooney and Pochettino leaving Chelsea, that ain't too big, is it? Besides, Jamie, this is a Blues podcast. We can't talk about Chelsea. People think on Facebook that we're some Chelsea fan page anyway, so we can't keep doing that.
I mean, I've said the word League One at least 7 times on this podcast so far. If any Chelsea fan is turning into this going, they talk about Chelsea in League One, you grow up.
Tony Mowbray leaves, big Blues badge, Blues focus.
Yeah.
Fuck this only Chelsea podcast. I was listening to this for 40 minutes. Yeah, we've gone massively off topic here. Let's go back. Let's get all back to Blues,
weren't we?
Let's get all back to Blues
games, because like one of the ones I think of as well is that game against Leicester in the FA Cup and that first half against Leicester.
Battered them.
Those chances missed, but the fact that we were playing so well and creating them against that
I can't
team.
believe we didn't score that day. Like, fair enough, we'd lost the game in the end. That's just like, Leicester are a decent team. But I can't believe we didn't score that day, honestly. Just so fucking annoying, honestly. And Keshe Anderson probably had the best of the chances, really, and Dembele was in a few of them as well. Just
Screaming, shoot.
Yeah. Just one word, pretty much, for all the 15 minutes. Yeah, it was. Yeah. That was a frustrating day. I remember there was when was that game? I can't remember. I remember it was sort of time February in that period, because I remember we didn't have him much longer after that.
Because we beat Hull in the replay, and then that was like maybe the month that he left that Leicester game. So
yeah, we went on a bit of a weird run of form then. So we lost the Baggies and then Wednesday. So he only had 4 games after that. So yeah, honestly, you can. How many games did he have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 games at Blues. Bloody no, honestly. He was getting us back on track. That's definitely. I know there's been
a lot of ones we'll look back on and think what could have been. I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Still half convinced that Kevin Long header or chest at West Brom went in. I'm still half adamant that crossed the line at West Brom.
I don't think it did, Jamie.
Listen, let me die on my hill on this one. Like.
I don't think it did cross the line.
I'm still partially blaming Leicester for our relegation. Like they beat us and decided to let every team around us win.
I know, fucking hell. I think he was getting things back together, because honestly, that Leeds game with Rooney was just so pitiful. It was not even funny, because we were so out of the game within like the first 10 minutes, really. Leeds were all over us. And fair enough, I was saying this in the vlog at the time, that I don't expect us to win, but I expect us to do much better than this. We've got some decent players in this team, and Mowbray was starting to bring that out of them then. The first game against Swansea was a tricky task. Swansea are an awkward side to play, but we got a good goal through Dembele and James, and the players that were doing well beforehand were starting to get back into the team more regularly. We got his first win against Hull. Great win against Stoke. I thought we really were absolutely brilliant in that one. Probably his best game out of all of them.
And Stoke hadn't lost under Schumacher until that point as well.
I know,
so
yeah.
They were on a good run of form.
And because they were, I think that they, as a collective as well, were sort of expecting the same Blues that they played against on Boxing Day. And like the team was it's just been a confidence thing this whole past season, hasn't it? I mean, like Jamie, you said it at the start of the episode. It's just like the confidence when Rowett came in was just shot to pieces, because we just had it sort of just stitching it back together with Mowbray, and then he gets ill. And then we have a tough run of fixtures in Ipswich, Southampton and Hull. That they're really tricky games then. And obviously Rowett doesn't come until late March, literally. Like, how many games did Rowett have? That must be about the same. So 3, 6, 7, yeah, exactly 8. Both had 8 games. And really, like, the amount of games that Vina's had, and then that form dips as well, and Rowett's coming in, like, like I said, like that's why I was in the podcast the other day. I was really keen to make it clear that it's been an accumulation of things that have sent us down. That's why we've slept walks. We haven't been in Rotherham's position where we've been down since like March. You know, we've been in the position to still stay up, and we probably should have as well. You know, with the last 3 games of the season, you know, a goal more in the Rotherham and Huddersfield games, you know, we'd be safe by now. But it's all what could have been and everything. But that's why I feel like the Mowbray transition was just as turbulent as the Eustace to Rooney one, really, wasn't it? Because the form actually is not too dissimilar, really, apart from one draw against Hull, and we were lucky to get around that one as well.
Mm.
But yeah,
are you on about Hull away?
well, that whole run of form after Mowbray left, really, it's like we've lost to Ipswich away, lost at Southampton at home, Hull, Millwall away, which me and you did the watch along for.
A lot of 1-0
home.
losses, isn't it? A lot of 1-0
we lost that
losses,
one
I think, in that
literally
run.
last header of the bloody game. And also we were denied an obvious penalty, but again, not getting angry about that. Lost the Borough at home, Watford at home, QPR away in the last minute of Rowett's first game. Like that run of form is probably just as bad as Rooney's was when he first came in, wasn't it?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just... Listen, I know people are going to be bitter about it because we did get to the 50 points and we're the first team since, was it 93, 94 to go down on 50, but 3 teams had to go down and unfortunately it was our time and we got caught out. Like, it is what it is. The managerial changes obviously didn't help. I firmly believe if we had kept the first manager we started with, we wouldn't have gone down. But it's happened. We've just got to kind of get on with it now. Don't talk about Hull around me because I just envision the elbow going into the net, and I still to this day am fuming because I'm like, that's the most obvious handball I've ever seen in my life, and they've just gone, yeah, sound good goal. Like,
we're never going to be able to get past that bit, are we? Edgy says as well, he's put another donation in and says, my money on Jamie to take over. I'd love to see you on this line having a
I
belt.
couldn't do it. I'd be like, I think I get yellow within 3 minutes for dissent every game. I'd just be at the 4th official. Like, what's that? It's a foul. Foul. Knobhead. Yellow. Sound. Like,
do like God in Australia. Stick the middle finger up.
No, I'm not. I've said many times, I am no manager. I have very little knowledge on the game of football at the best of times. Let's be fair about it. I'm just a very pissed off fan right now who got relegated from the Championship. That's all I am at the minute.
Yeah. There's one interesting point that I just want to bring up from a couple of minutes ago, as you put it up again. The debate of like FIFA have introduced the introducing legislation for teams to be games to be played abroad nowadays. Obviously, like there's a slight rumor, I suppose, with Blues and Wrexham, obviously, because we've both got big investors in that, so they probably could be played in the States. I don't know what you guys think about that. How you feel about a Blues game being played abroad, or just the concepts as a general, really? And be sure to put it in the comments as well. We'll be reading those out.
Well, I mean, we've seen, haven't we, like with pre-season games. I mean, to call it pre-season is something else. The Tottenham Newcastle game in Australia, and doing something like that where the season's barely ended and then they're playing a game. I think it's tomorrow in Australia against Newcastle, and I think the direction it's going in is a bit scary. I think it's the thing where the Americans will slowly get that piece of the pie and then work their way in from there. And I think the combination of a lot of things, say for instance the scrapping of FA Cup replays, I think that's come to a real detriment of the lower league clubs, and I think it's in favour of those clubs that are higher up in the football pyramid, because for them they don't want even more fixtures, especially with what's happening in the Champions League and the new format there with even more games there. So I think the Americans are going to try and slowly get more games, and they'll work their way into getting Premier League games. End of the day, money talks, so I imagine they will get that. And with Rex and Birmingham in America, you just don't know, do you? Because a lot of Birmingham fans do want to go to America for a pre-season, and why not? You know, it'd be a great destination to go to. The fact that we've watched Birmingham play in America, I never thought I'd say that, but the worrying thing for me is maybe that they'll try and phase it into league football, and you don't want that, do you?
No, I think the reason why it's a possibility, even though it sounds a bit far-fetched, is because they'll use it as a bit of a tester. So they'll take two teams who are fairly equipped to do those things. Obviously, they'll have the facilities for it, and they'll have a slight interest in it as well. But I think it'll be built off the fact that this could be a possibility in the future. I don't know. Jamie, what do you think?
It's a very difficult one. I think it's hard enough for most fans in the world, in their country, to get to an away game. Birmingham City away sells out near enough every single time. You can do one if you think any Birmingham fan is going to be able to afford every single game going away to America or something like that. Unless there is some major deal from the club coming where it's only a certain amount of money. I mean, yes, money talks, but we as the fans are surely the most important part of this as well in some aspect. And like, you're
I
just
really
taking
hope
us
so.
out of the game. You're taking, me, you guys, I earn a wage, and a fair amount of that wage does go into Birmingham City Football Club. And it'd be very, very difficult for me to, one, get time off work if we're going away to America to play Wrexham in a bloody game.
Yeah,
And, getting time off, affording it. You're joking, ain't you? Like,
I
that's,
know.
like,
It just, and that's where the fans are being forgotten, because it just wouldn't happen. Me trying to get even time off university or
yeah.
work or whatever, it just would never happen. You need at least, I mean, if it's Los Angeles, that's the other side of America as well. So that's a good 10, 11-hour flight. So you already need a day off, and then the day, exactly, and then another day off. So 3 days off in terms of just going to watch a Saturday game.
And
Not
then
a
battle your
chance.
jet lag after.
Yeah,
Like, battle jet lag. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I know.
I'm being picky about it. Don't get me wrong. I have no problem with people wanting to expand and look into the stuff, and money does talk. When you start, if you bring in a half-time show into a football match, though, I've got issues. I've got
Yes.
big issues. None of that bullshit. Like, listen, just keep it as it should be, and you know what I mean. It's going to be difficult enough for a Birmingham fan this year to get to most of them away games. Unless you're platinum or gold, I think you're pretty much in the bin for most away games next season. And I think
Yeah.
you're taking the absolute Michael if you have any audacity to say, "Oh yeah, let's go Wrexham away in LA." Oh yeah, because you know what I mean.
I'll
Unless
try my
someone,
best to vlog it. Do you
yeah,
know
do
what I
you
mean?
know what I mean?
I'll
Like,
try my best to fork out a fucking grand to go out and watch the Blues play Wrexham. It would be like amazing vlog if it did. It'd be amazing experience for people who do go, but it wouldn't be the core of the fan base, and that's where I'm worried that we're being a little bit forgotten almost, and like. We saw a little bit with it. I don't want to touch on it too much because it might be a little bit controversial, but with like the supporters groups with the Huddersfield away game, and there was stuff going around like the South Yorkshire Blues and everything. Like there's little bits of that where I just think I don't want, because the supporters groups and everything, they sound great. The ideas they've got for it and trying to bring back like a bit of like a unity in with the Blues fans and everything, because there is a lot of division, and there wasn't that at the start of the season. We were slowly getting back towards normality with Blues fans, and when we brought those groups in, I remember seeing it at the open house and thinking, yeah, that could work, because Blues fans will be more than up for like a forum or like a group to go and join. If it's based in a pub as well, it's fantastic. It's starting to get Blues fans back talking with each other. I mean, like we always do, but like it feels more real with that sort of stuff. But then when you like handing out tickets almost, or giving them earlier access before, I ain't sure about it, and I just hope that it's still got the right message in the very core of it, that it helps the fans out and it isn't just like a way so that, like, obviously I live up north. I can't think of any nearby teams that would perhaps allow me games for next season if I was signed up to some, I don't know, Cheshire Blues group or whatever. I'm not entirely sure, but like if that was the case, then what's all the miles I've done this season? I put it on Twitter the other day of how many miles I've done. It's nearly 6,000 again. I didn't go to a few towards the middle bit of the season because we're skins. So those type of things really, like, they add up, and if it just means that if I'm in my local supporters group, then I really hope that isn't the case, because like it's not even fans like me, obviously I video everything, so it's like taking me out of this equation. People who do the similar things to me, into like just traveling home and away every time, it's like you got to remember those people, because they are the true core of the fan base, and it obviously it doesn't work nowadays because obviously TV money is much bigger, and so is like merchandise and everything in terms of value and everything, revenue. But like we're still the real core fan base, people who travel home and away, spending fucking loads of money to try and go there and everything, and putting a game in America, and even just for Premier League games, like if it's going to be Arsenal City or whatever, like they put that in Miami or wherever it is, like there's true fans there as well who travel home and away. If you're sticking it in Miami as well, then it ain't gonna work, and they've got to be really careful about it, because football's football fans are very, obviously they care about the club and they care about the culture as well. And we saw it with the European Super League back in sort of like 2021 sort of time that and you see like how frustrated they get when they try and fuck about with the format there.
Yeah.
You try and mess with Blues fans with stuff like that, it's just going to get even worse, and like stuff like that needs to be dealt with really carefully, and they've got to look about it in doing it the right way for the fans and also for the business side of things. So yeah, and with how everything that's been this season as well, what they need is a solid foundation anyway, just in the team. So if they do something out of this world and do Wrexham Blues, which by the way, I've no idea how would actually work. Obviously, this is all theoretical still, but what would count as a home game then? Would you do both of them in America?
I know not one thing. Netflix would absolutely love it, wouldn't they? That's the issue. Is if you take, and this is the last point I'm going to make on this because it pisses me off massively that it's even a discussion of topic in the world right now in football. Like, if you strip down most football clubs, and especially Birmingham City, at the core of us, we are just a working class football club who just want our players to give 100% every game, and we'll back them till the end of the day. And we will back them till our dying day. That is all we are. And if you take away the aspect of fans getting to that game, me personally, it's not right. I don't feel morally like that would be a good thing to do. However, the board kind of know what they're doing, and I think Wagner now has spent enough time around the fans this year, going to away games as well, to realise that we are the core of this football club and that the passion that we have for this team. I don't see him without having some major plan or some financial way of helping out fans for that thing. I don't think there's any way it happens to us, if I'm honest. I think they know how much we care about this club, and I think they know denying our fans a game when there's a chance to go, it wouldn't be fair on them fans. Personally.
Yeah, I agree. I think it must be at the core, surely, that they must know that in terms of like customer well-being and everything, that you got to offer it out to all fans really. And America is just obviously, again, it's still all theoretical and everything, but it's been in the news lately. I think it's worth bringing up as well because it's an interesting thing to talk about, really. I think there's another thing. Like, I was speaking to somebody about this the other day, but like German football culture is very different as well, because obviously they've got like the 50+1 split in terms of the ownership
split between
and the investments and everything. But they also have a different way of doing things. I mean, I'm a massive fan of having beer in your seats. I think that just it stops that divide already, because standing and gathering all in like one big area and can't step over a certain white line to go for a holding your pints and everything. Like you eliminate a lot of that, in my opinion, if you just allow it in their seats and everything. Like German football is like the king for that, obviously, because they're just the king of lager out there as well. It would be sick if it was just allowing it. But also as well, like I just think that they seem to have more of a because the way that the Bundesliga has been this season as well, with how good everything like Bayer Leverkusen have been absolutely spectacular this season. People have been keeping up with that. Like, surely we can take a little bit of what's going on outside there and think like we could maybe integrate that a little bit. And because I'm just worried at the moment that the fan base is being a little bit forgotten, and maybe I'm being a little bit overcautious or whatever, but I just want that to stay clear, and that's why I was bringing up the FIFA thing as well.
100%, 100%. Like, yeah, agree. I mean, the only point I'm going to make about that as well with the beer thing is how surreal was it being able to watch UB40 while having a beer in St Andrews, sat in your actual seat, going, I was literally sat there feeling like I was doing something wrong. Like, oh yeah, I can.
But I suppose there's a little glimpse of where the board want us to be, what kind of atmosphere they want to build up every week. So that was kind of like a little glimpse of it. And obviously all the stuff on the pitch this season, it's been pretty bad. But with organisation and things they could do off the pitch to try and make more of a match day atmosphere, I think doing stuff like that it's perfect, and hopefully it can carry on for next season.
Yeah, I agree. We've been talking for an hour now. Bloody no! I always forget how quickly we do these podcasts. It feels like I've only just gotten into it, but we've spoken nearly for an hour now. Just to wrap this up, we will be keeping up on top of the news. We'll try and bring like some more shorter form content, because I know everybody there's obviously people like different styles of content and everything. But yeah, it's been a interesting few weeks and everything. It never feels like there's another normal like a consistent few weeks with Blues. It always feels like we've gone down, and it feels we're starting to get back to some. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like with a completely different week now. We've got loads of other things going on. We've got loads of other things to consider. Like we had the what was it, the list going out last week, and now we got Mowbray this week, and we're trying to find out who the manager is. We'll probably get news about Jordan James coming up soon or something like that, or a big player that we're going to let go or something like that. They'll change the entire dynamic of the conversation again. But I mean, that's one of the great reasons Sporting Blues really is just loads to talk about all the time, really.
When does the window officially open?
Sam, you'll probably know this better than me.
Yeah, Sam.
Well, I mean, I know about when all the contracts expire properly, and that's like the 31st of May. So I don't know if it's 1st of June. I'm not completely sure. That's when players can officially sign on. I know teams can make transfers now, but when they officially sign for their clubs, I reckon will be start of June.
Yeah, because that's when I imagine you'll see a lot of. Let's be honest. I mean, we pretty much all resigned to the fact that we were lucky to keep JJ from January. So JJ's going to go, and I expect the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd of June, you're going to literally see either medical or coming in, or the main man Fabrizio Romano probably putting some little tweet out or something saying, but he's going to go. And
June the 14th for the window. I just see 3 people literally put it in the space of like 5 seconds.
Ignore everything I just said over the last 10 seconds.
Ignore everything I said as well. Not getting the date wrong. So yeah, June 14th.
That is literally this podcast. It literally is like, I think it's definitely this.
People correcting us in the comments.
Yeah,
like, no, actually.
No,
I asked the question innocently, to be fair.
That's exactly why we're a fan podcast, and we never proclaim to be anything else. I can't even speak half the time, never mind fucking trying to get anything else out of this. I don't think there's anything else to add on to this. Have we missed anything else out of this long 10 days?
I did see rumours about a pre-season game that may be happening. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I've seen it. I think I know who you're on about.
Yes.
Is it Rangers?
Because I know Gary Cook, Tom Magnan teased it in the open house. He said we're playing one of France's former clubs, and it looks like it may be Rangers. So that would be interesting.
I mean, it'd be quite good. It'd be interesting to see where they hold it. If it's up,
I believe I've read it St Andrews. I believe they're coming down to us, is what I read.
That's a bit disappointing. I was hoping it'd be up.
Do not take my word for verbatim, though, and do not take my word as
again.
gospel.
Yeah,
I think Rangers also playing Man United, so I imagine it's in
definitely
England.
not 100% fact.
Yeah.
This is.
I've
read rumours, and that is all I've read is rumours. So do not take anything I say as fact at all. Like, this is just my opinion and my hope. Like, please, for the love of God.
I'm hoping they'll release more about the Austria game soon, because I don't want to buy or have time off work or anything and then realise that it was on a different day and I've missed it, because that would be right kick in the bollocks, really. I imagine it's Saturday, but I need to find out more, because I don't even know where it's going to be holding, in Austria. I don't know if it's going to be in Innsbruck or if it's going to be in Vienna. It's one of those really. Eddie, mate, we are off to pre-season. I mean, you guys are welcome to come along. There's a good laugh. Jamie doesn't have any money. I don't blame you, Spurs, really. It is.
It's more getting time off work, if I'm honest, Tommy. I'm a manager in a rehab, man. Like, I'm getting time off.
Sam?
Well, yeah, never know. Austria is somewhere I've never been before. I never thought I'd go there, but if Blues are there, then maybe.
It's apparently pretty decent from people I've heard of when we went last time. It was about 10 years ago, actually. I mean, if we get Rowett back, it pretty much will be the exact same trip when we get Clayton Donaldson and David Davis back as well. Just come on the trip with us.
Exactly. Why didn't we just have a little chat with Gary then? Just like what we're saying, like on we go. I mean,
just get everybody back together. We'd probably do a decent job in League One. Probably wouldn't get promoted immediately, but it's one of those. A couple of other things I just really would like to know about a bit more is certain dates on like kit releases and everything. As I've seen, there's a few other teams in League One that have had their kit released lately. Season ticket prices, they've still not been released or rumored to be a certain day or anything. Just a little bit more. Obviously, the season only finished at the start of this month, but the way that football teams move about things nowadays, it's so quickly. I mean, Liverpool were playing in their season kit next season's kit in the last game on the weekend, weren't they? So, like, in terms of like how we keep up with things, it's going to be interesting, really, to see how quickly they come out. Because obviously, it'd be interesting to see if how cheap they are and everything with being in League One. Anything else? I feel like we are missing something. There's definitely, in terms of the fixtures, those come out sometime in June, I believe.
26th,
I've got it
I
on the
believe.
26th, yeah, is when they come out. So
I've seen an announcement about the EFL fantasy football. If anybody's into fantasy football,
we might make a Blues Focus.
Blues Focus
depending
League.
on
I
how
think
we
that's
do
the
it,
way
yeah.
to go, isn't it?
Yeah, I haven't played fantasy football in absolutely ages. I feel like
Jamie's
I'd
captain of is going to be
bad
Clark Harris.
No, my issue.
all the players he wanted to sign in this window.
Exactly.
My issue is with that kind of stuff is I'm all game for it, and I'm like, yeah, I entered the league this year with like one of the managers at work, and it was like 20 quid ahead, and I was like, yeah, the winner gets it. Oh, I fucking forget about it after 3 weeks, and I finished
I'm
bottom of
always
the
the
league,
same,
and I'm
yeah.
like, oh,
That's fantasy football for you.
I just can't be asked for it after that. I'm just like, oh, if one player gets injured for me, my head falls off. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it anymore.
Especially in the football league where it's like games literally like Saturday, Tuesday,
Yeah.
Tuesday. Like the amount of times we're going to forget the deadline. It's going to be crazy.
I swear everybody does that though. Like I don't think I've ever met anybody who's played fantasy football before and been like, yeah, I've like stuck to it like religiously and made it like every week I'm checking everything. It's always like after 5 weeks in, there's like, I forgot to do my team today.
I'll tell you what, actually, in the 2020-21 season when like there was nothing else going on, when football was behind closed doors, I got into FPL quite a bit and I finished like top 5,000 in the world.
You absolute bash, honestly.
Yeah, I actually did.
To be fair, COVID times though, that's acceptable. When all that was going on, there was not a lot else to do. I mean, I've spent about 8 hours a day playing Warzone, so I can't say anything like
God, I can't even remember what I did in lockdown. Probably just slept. I slept for about 12 months, honestly.
During COVID, I got to like, I think it was top 5,000 in the world at UFC 4 on PlayStation. Like, I just became a sweatbag. Like, listen, COVID times aren't spoken about because you just become a different human being during that.
Literally.
And Karanka as well in that Blues time as well. So thank God we're in a much better position now.
Yeah.
Oh Christ, yeah. I mean, this podcast has got no structure to it at all now. We're talking about lockdown, UFC, and fantasy football. So I think it's about time we ended, actually.
Let's call it,
Thank you to everybody in the chat. Really good conversation going on as usual. Thank you to the guys as well for the donations as well. Life of Jay and Edgy212. Thank you guys. Really appreciated that.
Legends.
We'll be back whenever the next bit of big news comes out. I'm imagining it, knowing Blues will probably be like, or in a week or something like that when there's a player rumored to be sold or something like that. So, we'll be back on track with things very soon with the new season and everything. We've got a good couple of ideas coming up for the new season, big ideas as well, that hopefully we can put into work over the next few weeks. It's going to be an interesting season ahead. I feel like I've said that word about 9 million times this podcast. But nevertheless, thank you guys for joining me again, Sam and Jamie. Glad you come on again. And thank you guys for watching. Keep right on.
Keep right on, man.
Keep right on.